Hello, and welcome to the Carbon Fund info session. Today we hope to tell you all you need to know about the Carbon Fund and how to apply. We'll go over our mission and history, the committee, give some examples of past projects, review the application process. So the Carbon Fund mission is to mitigate climate change through funding and participating in projects to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, conduct relevant research, or carry out educational and behavior change programs. The committee is quite diverse, and its goal is to distribute all these funds equitably into the best projects. The history comes from a 2006 student fee. So students petitioned to get a fee on themselves, $3 per student per quarter, to purchase renewable energy certificates. Those offset our emissions on campus. So that origin story is important to know, to consider when you're putting in an application, because the real goal of this initiative is to try to reduce our emissions on campus. In 2010, they did revise that and switched to paying off funds to trying to fund projects locally that will reduce our emissions. The measure does raise $125,000 annually. It has a very diverse committee. It has multiple student members from the Graduate Student Assembly and the Student Union Assembly, a representative from the People of Color Sustainability Collective, a Carbon Neutrality Fellow, student from the Enviro Slug, and a Student Carbon Fund Coordinator, all voting members. Other voting members from staff and faculty are a representative from Physical Plant, the Procurement Department, and a faculty advisor. The Sustainability Office also provides support staff. The committee's job is to select great projects. So we look at, predominantly, project feasibility and the overall plan. Is your project going to be able to work successfully? Is it going to be able to reduce greenhouse gases and other resources? Does it have a social justice or equity component? Or have you thought through all components of your project that might influence diversity, equity, and inclusion? Is there student involvement, or do they get educated? And what's the writing quality of your submission? So the committee deliberates on these decisions and applications, and they also vote on other Carbon Fund business. If you ask for a lot of money, we may be calling you back for either an in-person interview or a Zoom interview, or just to get a little more information from you. Here's a breakdown of how we look at the projects. Again, predominantly, how feasible is your project? But also very important, are you reducing those CO2 emissions or greenhouse gas emissions altogether? And we also are always looking at social justice, equity, and the student involvement component. A small section for writing, so make sure to proofread. Here's an example of some past projects. This one was awarded to a group of students. They got $10,000 to provide a zero emission daily transportation. With the money awarded, the students purchased a Nissan Leaf, and this vehicle is used by both undergraduate and graduate students, while also allowing broader use throughout the community to reduce their carbon footprint. And this was actually a follow-up project. So we don't try to fund ongoing efforts, but if you do have maybe a follow-up project or want to try to expand an existing project, we're always here to hear your ideas. The removal of paper towels from athletics and recreation. They were awarded $20,000 to remove paper towels from all their rec centers and replace with Dyson Airblades. The Quarry Plaza Resource Recovery got $8,000 to set up different recycling stations across the quarry. And energy conservation in residence halls and on-campus apartments. Groups got these power strips and some extra money for conservation education and outreach. We also award pretty small projects, $500 for a vermicomposting worm bin. So now the application process, it's open every fall. And sometimes if we have funds remaining, it will do a second round in the spring. And there's two types that you're applying for. One is a macro grant, which is over $5,000, and one is a micro, less than $5,000. The main differences being the macro, we're going to ask you a few more questions. We might even ask you to come in and explain your process a little bit more, give it a little bit more scrutiny. And also the micro, we're able to determine quickly and typically let folks know in the fall that they've been awarded. Macro might be awarded in the fall. It might also go through the winter. And you can always apply online. So again, the purpose of this grant is to reduce our campus emissions. And we are going to ask for some supplemental materials along with your application to learn things about like your emission reductions. For example, there's a greenhouse gas calculator. You can ask us if you have any questions anytime about the calculator, but it's really pretty simple. You're going to be adding the resources that you're saving. So is it gallons of gas or kilowatt hours? And the calculator will compute how much emissions you're saving from that resource saving. Also, put in how much your project costs, and we'll be able to give you a return on investment. There's also a budget projection, so we'd like everything line itemed, including maybe some installation cost, maybe shipping and handling, taxes, and then a milestone sheet. So just for macro projects, we want to see an outlined list of all the actions that you're going to take to get your project done. This should be helpful to you so you know what to do and when. Now can be a lot of complexities with some projects, particularly if you're building on campus. If you're building or changing any structure or adding anything to campus, you'll need approval from Physical Planning, Development, and Operations, PPDO. We're going to be looking for a letter of support or an email confirmation. Is there any ongoing maintenance? Who's going to pay for that? Think about every single step from the installation to maybe the removal of your project. Every person or trade that touches your project will have to lend their support. Make sure to build good relationships with all your faculty and staff sponsors and the different groups across campus or departments you'll be working with. The money will be transferred into another UCSC account. So if you're a student, you're going to need faculty and staff sponsor and a department that was able to accept this money and be able to distribute it as you need it. So you can always schedule an appointment with us. We strongly recommend just reaching out and running your ideas by us or making sure you clarify any questions. Once you do get approved, your team will have to participate in a mandatory financial training. We'll just go over how the funds are transferred and emphasize some things about UCSC procurement policy. All the procurement policy can be found online. So the dates will be updated annually. Please check our website. Typically in the fall, we are able to announce those micro awards. And then maybe in early winter, we're able to announce the macro. And in the winter, we start distributing those funds. And you have 2 years to complete your project. So please read through our website and the application guide for any more information. Once again, you can always set up an email to discuss if you have any questions. Thank you.